Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast of Motorsport Experience. And we are here with Shaun today, and we're going to be discussing the Dacre rally that was in Ontario a couple of weeks ago. And I let the Shaun introduce himself in a minute, but this podcast is by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. It's created so that we can share our common experience, share our passions of riding and driving on the trails, and just particulars of those experiences because they don't talked about much. And it would be great to kind of share them, inspire others, and maybe glean some knowledge or wisdom from that. And so let's get into it. So Shaun, why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, how you got into the sport and whatnot?
I got into side-by-siding about just over a year ago. A family member bought one, went out and tried it, and was hooked day one. A few weeks later, went out, and I was fortunate enough that my wife allowed me to buy a machine, and we bought just before pretty much all North American stock disappeared. So a year in, I'm pushing almost 10,000 kilometers on my machine already. We're out, the group that I ride with, that I kind of met through all of this, almost every weekend that we can. Even with the prices of gas that we have now, we all need to get out, and this is kind of our release every single weekend.
Yeah, you absolutely hit it on the nail that all the machines are sold out right now because people are craving nature and people are craving that fun experience. And did you do any kind of riding before, any biking, anything of that nature? Any other
I have a
motorsports?
super sport motorcycle. Yeah, so a
Mhm.
super sport motorcycle. I did that when in my younger days. Got rid of that, and just recently, in the last 5 years or so, got back into riding my motorcycle. I have a 10-year-old daughter now who is my co-pilot on the motorcycle and most of the time in my side-by-side. So got back into that. Never done any of the trail riding, adventure riding. I've always kind of stuck to the one type of motorcycle that I've had, but the side-by-side is just, it's a completely different world, something that I had never experienced. I've gone places that I would have never imagined that I would have gone. Type of machine, it's really opened my eye to a whole different side of this country that I've never seen, like being out in nature and different places to go visit and things to see. It's just unbelievable. Some of the sites I've seen in the last year and a half, lakes I never knew existed, trails I never knew, mountains that we've climbed, lookouts that we've found. So it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah, I agree that it takes almost like some kind of event in order to shift from what we used to know to something new and different. But as we do that, it opens up all kinds of possibilities and opportunities. And one of the key things you said is that you could take your 10-year-old daughter on with you on the trail, whether for the bike it's not so easy and it's maybe riskier, and the biking in general is more riskier on the road. So it's almost like it's an outlet which is safer and even more beautiful considering the nature we have here in Ontario. It's amazing.
No, definitely, for sure.
And so if you've never done these events, so this was your first rally event?
It was my first actual event of any kind with the side by side. It's like I said earlier, I ride kind of with a group, and we organize our own rides every weekend. We kind of uh, plan everything out and then set our own trails and go and do that. So doing this longest day challenge was something that a couple of us had come across last year on Facebook when we saw it, and we were interested. COVID being an issue last year, and then understanding that RallyConnex tried to set it up. They wanted to set it up, but that, COVID would be a problem. We ended up not doing it last year, even though we wanted to. And then as soon as registration opened this year, we made sure we registered day one. So
Yeah,
it was something that we really wanted to try, kind of a test of us and a test of our machine, and not knowing what an event would be like, right?
absolutely. And I find it's so It's so interesting to see how much people wanted to get out in nature during the last 2 years and how much they wanted to do something together. It's basic part of us as humans to be in communities and doing things and going places. And yet for the majority of time, we have been stuck in square boxes doing square things, looking at square computers all the time.
No, for sure.
And getting out on the events like that, it really allows you to open up your vision, open up your senses, because the nature provides opportunities for just completely different outlook. So this was your first event. So what stands out the most from this event for you now, looking back on it?
Oh, is definitely the length it took. You know, it's by far for all of us, this was right up there. It was our longest ride, our furthest ride. You know, being up. You know, we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we crossed the finish line as a team at just after 20 after 1 in the morning. So 21 and a half hours, and but crossing the finish line, that is like the accomplishment. Our entire team crossed. We started with the 3 buggies in our class. All 3 of us finished. Only one small issue during the day, and we did it as a team. We did it together, and probably one of the best days I've had with the 2 guys I was riding.
That's incredible, because going as a team is a whole new experience. Have you done anything like that on a bike? Have you taken long trips on a motorcycle before?
On my motorcycle, I have, but I do it primarily solo, where my bike is really my time to clear my head, to go out and to just be one with the road and connect. I do it a lot with my daughter. We do a couple hours here and there, but on the bike, I'll take off sometimes 8 to 10 hours just with myself, and just to you know separate myself from everything else, just me on the road and no plans, and just see where we go.
I hear you. I do exactly the same thing. I ride the SV650 on the road, and exactly the same purpose. I go when the days get too stressful, because when I put the helmet on, the rest of the world just disappears.
Yeah.
That's kind of been my outlet for the last 2 years, working from home and whatnot. And so, comparing to that, what was different with solo experience on the motorcycle versus being in a team in a buggy on the trail for so long?
So when you're out on the bike, you decide when you stop. You're done for the day. You turn around, you go back. This challenge was what RallyConnex put together as a trail and as the route for the side by sides. It was a little bit of everything, and you know it was really a challenge. And it was not going, okay, well, I'm done for the day. Let's just pack it in, head back to the vehicles, do whatever. It's no, we wanted to make it to the end. We wanted to make it to the finish line. We didn't know what the trail was going to be. It was a lot of new trails for our group. It's a different area of the province that we don't normally ride in. Um, the last, you expected, close to the end, that it would be buzzing a lot of back roads, gravel roads, and everything else. But really, what they put together for the last 2.5 hours of that was trails that hadn't been used very much. So the dead of night, you're running with your light bars, and you get a little patch of gravel road, and then suddenly, sharp left and back into the woods, and up and down rocks and through mud and everything else. And it was really, you had to stay focused. You had to stay sharp. Some of the trails really, you way to go. So it's, a lot of concentration, as opposed to on the bike, you just, often you go, you don't have a destination in mind, you just drive. This one here, we were trying to follow someone else's destination. So it was
That
really following that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation, because yeah, you were following a plan and a GPS and a specific route, but being together in a team, you had a shared goal. You all had the same goal in mind. And so I'm curious to know if you felt any particular unity or particular feelings of being together in a group, like camaraderie or brotherhood or anything like that, that ran through?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. So one of the things that we did to prepare for this challenge is I had already had comms, coming from motorcycle background. I've had a comms unit in my helmet all the time to talk with my passenger, just listen to my music. And the two guys that I rode with kind of sold them on the idea. They went out and they purchased the same units. And we were stuck in each other's heads all day, which it really that made our day. That was, being able to chat with each other, just joking around, a bunch of guys driving out for the day, communicating any issues that we had, talking about the routes. It it seems funny sometimes, to think about a bunch of guys out and just talking all day. But, if there was silence on the comms for like 5 to 6 minutes, all of a sudden people would be checking in, is everybody okay? What's going on? And it's just, we kept in touch with each other all day. But it made the day pass a lot easier. You don't just have your music and then just lose yourself, right, on just trying to follow the road, or follow the trails or figure out where the trails are. We're talking to each other and just, you know, being able to chat and bond like that for, the whole day with the guys was a lot of fun.
That sounds incredible because that's our primary need to kind of connect with others in the team. And it almost reminds me or makes me think of like hunters when they go out for a purpose of back in the day when those things used to happen. But when a group of guys would go out for the specific purpose and they know each other well and they know where they're going, except in your case, you didn't know where you were going. But think about this connection that was created because of the circumstances. I find it's incredibly rare these days to find these kind of specific connections that are built. Those exist right now, I believe, in special forces, that type of environment, SEAL teams where they work together on a specific goal or mission. But people normally don't get involved in those kind of activities for fun. Would you say
Mhm.
that is your perception as well?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. The guys even realized after everything was done that the comms have completely changed. How we handle, uh, even our regular just group outings on a weekend, like it's a total game changer. Being able to communicate with each other when there's a vehicle, when there's something coming, so being able to build that and talk to each other, definitely made the biggest difference for us in the day.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if corporate companies would actually go out on events like that and send their teams in those kind of situations. What kind of results would that create for the teams and the team building?
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of things that we realized as this event went on, right? And I think the biggest realization that we had throughout the entire thing, which came near the end, was this wasn't a race, right? It was a GPS tracked event. Um, and it wasn't just, throughout the entire day. It was really trying to pay attention to the trail that RallyConnex set up, making those turns, not missing them. And the more we went through the event, the more we learned as the day went on. And the more we were able to perceive, okay, well, there's a turn coming up, communicate with each other. Okay, well, this is what you're looking for, on your left, on your right, just in case someone's GPS wasn't exactly at their location. Sometimes you're going fast enough that, these side by sides, they go pretty quick. And sometimes the GPS systems can't keep up, or they're not 100% accurate. And, when you've got three sets of eyes looking for the same turn, makes a big difference.
Yeah, you're right. And did you have any other support crew that would meet you at checkpoints?
No, actually, we had someone that came for support, but when we realized how far each of the truck stops were going to be and what the cost of gas in a diesel truck would be, we told them to stay back for the day, and that we'd figure it out. However, there were three of us running in that one group, but we had another group as well running in the. So we ran gold. A bunch of our other regular riders. They ran in silver. One of the riders, unfortunately, wasn't able to compete, and he showed up at each of the checkpoints just to check on us. Out of something for him to do on a Saturday. So he showed up at all of us, kind of kept us abreast, make sure that everything was okay. So, but no, there's just the three of us in our vehicles, just puttering along and trying to make it as close to their track as possible.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And I've had conversations with other riders who rode solitary on their bikes with one was without the support crew, another had the support crew waiting for them at every checkpoint. And so there's different, obviously different experience and different way that it is perceived. So now we have something to compare, really, how one person who is all by themselves on the trail, what it's like for the person who is by themselves, but they have a support crew at every stop. And then there's you guys who just three buggies and nobody else. And so what I'm curious about is, what was it like to focus for the entire day with all that talking, with all the things that you had to map out on the GPS, and continuously hold that attention for the duration of the whole event? How was it like? What was it like?
Well, again, it came back to our comms. Our comms was, talking to each other, walking each other through each of the different things. Having somebody consistently in your head, um, it doesn't allow your mind to drift, right? And not, lose focus. I also having means I didn't always have to be every other second checking my GPS and following the buggies in front of me. Um, having them there, they were my support. We prepared for this event, so we didn't really need support either. Between all three buggies, we had all the necessary parts and tools and everything else that we would be able to get through almost anything that we would come across. So really having the guys, knowing them, no, having met these two guys a year and a half ago, riding with them as much as I do, they become some of my best friends. And knowing that I could depend on them, no matter what situation I'm in, knowing that they're there, um, allowed me to focus on the buggy in front of me, and then how can I help them? How, part of a team, what can I say? What can I do to help us achieve the goal that we were out there to achieve?
That is very interesting because, yes, you can alternate the position. So somebody on the front takes the brunt of the front loading, then you switch and you get to relax at the back and follow. So that is a very good point. When you're in a group, you get to actually shift attention. So you don't have to be always looking straight forward like it would be for the solo guys. So that is very interesting. And as a buggy, you can carry so much more than a motorcycle. I guess the only downside would be sometimes the trails could be too tight. Were there sections that it was hard to get through?
Oh, Lee really put some of these buggies to a test. You know, um, some of the places we'd go through, the joke of the day was we were collecting to make bouquets. The number of leaves and branches and dust, the dust. The rain that we've had in the last week, I really wish it would have come just before the event. I've never seen so much dust in my life. But yeah, some of those trails were really tight. Some of them, you didn't know if the buggy was going to make it. You're trying to make it around some of these trees, and it's not like a dirt bike. It's not like an adventure bike. Some of us are sitting 65, 66, 67 inches wide, and RallyConnex did an awesome job of really planning those routes and making them, but some of them were really tight. Some of the longer wheelbase buggies, they had a hard time. So, but it's fun to see. It's a challenge. It's really a challenge physically and mentally of the driver, but really of the machine.
Oh, absolutely. I was amazed. I was on the trail taking some photos at one point, and I two buggies came through. I don't remember who it was, but they were pretty wide. And the section of the trail, first there was a huge puddle with trees, and they took half a tree with them. And then there were huge boulders ahead, and I could walk behind them. They were going so slow. And I was amazed at how much we as a humanity progressed that we can build this kind of machines that can go into those places. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe my eyes because I haven't been exposed to that type of machinery before. Those trails, it was incredible to watch that go, you know?
Yeah, no, they definitely, you know, there's a lot of technology that goes into the suspension systems on these buggies, into, a lot of the stabilization that we go through, the tire sizes. It's like my wife said, my wife picked our buggy. She saw it online. She said that was the one she wanted because it was a go everywhere machine. It's a machine that's made to go through mud, to go through puddles, to go over rock. But like you said, sometimes we need to do it really slow because there's a lot of parts on these machines that can break, and that can take you. There's a lot more moving parts on this than there is on a motorcycle or on an adventure bike. It's not just a chain or a tire or something. Like, we've got full suspension systems that one part goes and you can lose everything.
Yeah, that is very critical to know and be aware of all of that. And so, my next question would be around creativity, because as those machines are wide and the trails are narrow, and there are so many moving components, and there's three of you together, how do you perceive creativity was used in that motion, in that event, in that rally?
Some of the places, you had to get really creative. And with these types of buggies, there's no it's not like driving on a road, right? Where there's, this is the left side, that's the right side, where traffic is going to be. It's really, you got to be creative sometimes in using, nature's obstacles. There's a tree there, there's a rock there. I know some individuals who ride and they go out and they'll cut down trees to make it easy for them to get by. Our group were not at all like that, and it wasn't the intention of this ride either. It's really, you want to use what's out there. So if there's a rock, if there's a tree, how can you utilize that to help you get around it, get past it? That if there's an obstacle that's there, how do you get beyond that obstacle? Where does this tire need to be? Where does that tire need to be? Where do I need to be looking? And then you have to really be creative often and being anticipatory as to what's going to happen once I crest over this. Again, these machines, they're over 60 inches wide. Sometimes you're going over a rock and you're going to have 2 to 3 tires off the ground. What's going to happen when they land? Is it going to bounce? Is it going to turn? So you really need to anticipate that. Personally, I found is, I've I've been riding with an amazing group of guys who combined are probably everyone pushing over 300,000 kilometers of side-by-side time. So, I'm relatively new to the sport. But what I do often is I sit back, I observe, I ask questions, and I watch what everyone else is doing. I watch the lines. Um, I look at how everybody does stuff. Don't want to do things the same way because, again, I want to go out and I want to pick my own line. I want to do all that. And I'm seeing that now with my 10-year-old daughter. We go out, not just in this event, but whenever we go out now, and she's my co-pilot, she wants to pick the lines. She's starting to understand, well, we get to certain obstacle. Well, there's an easy way, there's a moderate way, and there's a very difficult way. And she always chooses the most difficult way to go. But she'll explain to me which line to take. So really, you need to be creative about how you use nature and your machine to get around everything, because everything is possible.
As you were explaining how the creativity works for you, and how I just love hearing how it relates into your family life and your relationship with your daughter. That's incredible. And my next question is, I wonder what it, because when you were out there on the trail, you were exposed to a lot of nature, and nature produces awe-inspiring experiences in us. When we see, especially the trails that I've heard were there, was absolutely amazing scenery. And so that, plus the camaraderie, plus the creativity that is required on the trail, I wonder if combination of all of them has produced lasting effects that has transferred into your daily life after. into your work, family? Well, obviously we just discussed family, but what are other lasting effects that you see possibly happening after that?
You know, a lot of that is it's kind of that reinforcement, that sometimes teamwork, really does make all the difference in the world. I manage a team of unbelievable people at my work, and you know, the first thing I did when I got back to work was I kind of explained to them how we all work together and how we were able to achieve that. You know, the goal of finishing the event, ending up first, in a class that we thought was going to be, something we didn't even know we were going to finish. So, I was able to take the experience of everything that we did there and everything that they put us through, and I passed that right on to my staff, and my daughter has been nothing but asking me about it, right? So, she really wanted to be a passenger with us. She wants to be able to do it, but now she's determined to do it with her own. She wants her own buggy. She wants to be able to do these things. She sees that dad and his friends are able to complete this challenge, and it's stuff that she is now striving for. So, it's kind of helping her in developing some of her aspirations as to what she wants to do.
That is so incredible, because as we think aspirationally like that, so many more opportunities come to mind and so many more options are available than to us. And so, well, specifically for you, have you found that next week or on Monday after that event, were you more productive, or were you happier, or were you more calm, or anything of that nature, or more exhausted?
I was more exhausted. I took that day off. Um, every I, aches and pains that I hadn't. The hardest thing was, you sit in that vehicle for 20 plus hours. My issue I had on the Monday after all of that was if I stayed in seated working, everything stiffened up. I actually had to move. So I spent the Monday, kind of just processing everything that we went through, everything that we did, and I cleaned my machine, and I just kept moving to just let my muscles kind of readapt to that. Um, but yeah, no, it was an experience, one I'm never gonna forget, and one I really, really definitely enjoyed. Um, just it took a toll on everything, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's just I was drained at the end of it. But again, we got back, like I said earlier, we finished our team, we got everything sorted out for that. We went back, got all cleaned up, and then we were just as excited to wait for the next team to come in, right? So our gang that came in silver, we didn't. There was kind of worries of that team that they may not finish the event. We didn't know if they were going to make it to the 7 p.m. checkoff on time. So when we heard that they did, we were staying up. We were waiting for them. And they rolled in just after 3 o'clock in the morning. So that again, we were there to cheer on the rest of our group that was there in a different class. Doesn't matter. They were our guys, right? So.
Yeah, totally. And it's actually a really good strategy that you came up with to move after that event for next day, because as we get into that really focused state, we use a lot of intense chemistry in the brain. And in order for it to kind of move itself around, we have to move our body in order for fluids inside to move. So you actually created yourself a really good strategy for recovery. And that I keep thinking about the last hours before, kind of before the cutoff time, and it was so amazing because there was food available up until like midnight. There was incredible. People could sit around and chat and recount the stories as they were waiting for their friends, and like the whole event was so well organized. Great props to Lee Martin and RallyConnex, and even the guys at Valley Rally Enduro who supported the trails in that other section. The whole thing was just so well done, and I was watching from the back, from the behind the scenes, and it was incredible. I can't even imagine how much more fun it was on the actual trail. But through these stories, I get to learn now.
Oh yeah, no, no, for sure. And like the food all weekend was just amazing, and like the caterers were there till midnight, but Lee and Laura and everyone else was there. You showed up. We showed up at 20 after 1, and there was food available to us. Laura was running in the back to microwave to warm stuff up for us, and as soon as he came in, Lee looked so exhausted. He was up till past 5 o'clock scoring everyone's GPS files as they came in. So I don't know how that man does it. I don't think he got any sleep all weekend. But they we didn't know what to expect going into this event, and they really blew us away. We were
Yeah.
really, really impressed.
Yeah, totally, totally. And so, in closing, what would be your message to anybody who maybe ride the motorcycle on the street, but they never considered the trail, or maybe they ride 4x4, but they never considered going onto a like guided trail? What would be your message for other enthusiasts of motorsports?
You need to do it. You need to get out there and you need to experience. There's not just one type of riding. There's not just one type. It's not just dirt bikes in a pit. It's not just adventure bikes. On the occasional gravel road. It's not your super sport motorcycle at a track. It's there's so many different aspects to motorsports that, again, a year and a half ago, I never knew that this world existed. And now I can't see my life without it. So, it's there. We live in a vast country. There's so many trails. There's so many different, just in our area of things that you can explore, from rail beds to mountain climbing to lake and river crossings, and not just on side by sides ATVs, but on dirt bikes, on motocross, on everything. If you want to really experience anything, you need to get out and experience it all. Really take that opportunity to see, what is out there, what the machines can do, and then really what you can do. Because you're limited to your imagination when it comes to all of these different machines.
Yeah, and as I have said in previous episodes, there is all of it. It happens solitary in a way. Well, if there's three machines, then there's a group of people, but there's a lot of development that happens inside the person when they are on the trail by themselves without being anyone else around. And there's a huge amount of development that is happening to that person. And my personal opinion is that this is such a perfect combination of man and the machine, where a machine is supporting the humanity of the humanness, the aspect of us that makes us so much better, and the community aspect of it. So it's not just about machines anymore. It's about how we can become better people through the use of machine and merging with nature.
Oh, 100%. My riding style, just in my side by side, is completely different when I'm out with the group. When we were doing this challenge, everything's a little bit different. And then I've got days where I go out and we'll just go explore in the wilderness, my daughter and I. But then again, you can get stuck. Anything can happen. There's no one there to help you. You need to figure it out with your machine. At the end of the day, you need to be able to get out of the woods, right? So it's different riding styles, different riding ways, but you need to adapt consistently to your surroundings and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It just this kind of sport, this kind of activity makes us better humans. So anybody who has opportunity to do that should definitely do that. And so, well, thank you very much for this interview. And I hope all riders out there and all enthusiasts find it extremely useful, because we have covered so many wonderful points about this. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time.